Hi everyone, welcome back to the Geterbrewed channel. So today we're going to look at priming. So we get a lot of phone calls and emails about how to package your beer as a very basic home brewer at the start, and priming really isn't difficult. There's a couple of ways that you can approach this. You can batch prime or you can add sugar to the bottles individually. To look at batch priming, the best way that I can describe to do it is to have a bottling bucket with a tap and a bottling stick. The reason I think a second bucket's better is that if you've carried out your primary fermentation, there'll be, after fermentation's complete, there'll be sediment in the bottom of the bucket. And to add a sugar solution and mix that is going to stir that sediment up. So my personal advice would be to say, get yourself a second fermenter or a bottling bucket, whatever you want to call it. Transfer your beer or your cider into that and then add your priming sugar. Now, priming sugar can be added in a number of ways. You can get a small jug with a little bit of boiling water and dissolve the priming sugar into that, mix it up really well, just pour it in the top and then give it a gentle agitation. You're not wanting to get in there and give it a really heavy mix because you don't want to put a lot of oxygen into the beer wort or the cider if you're packaging cider. So batch priming is, in the term, you're priming it in one batch. So look, there's calculators online that you can use to work out, how much to use. We generally, rule of thumb would be 155 grams of brewing sugar. Dissolve that, add it to the fermenter, very gentle agitation, and then package. Now, it's good to give it a little bit of time to dissolve before you start packaging, and then packaging is just really simply put the bottle onto the bottom of the bottle filling stick. Once it hits the bottom of the bottle, the little lever lifts and flow starts, and then just watch as it comes up to near the top of the bottle and then pull away and flow will stop. That will then allow you to take that over and cap it. So sterilizing your cap and then just using your capper obviously to put the cap onto the bottle. Now, priming and batch priming, it involves a secondary fermentation process. So the reason you're adding sugar is so that the yeast activity kicks off again, eats the sugar, and when it eats the sugar it creates CO2, so it batch primes and carbonates the bottles. Once that's complete, what you want to do is put it somewhere cool for about 2 weeks to allow it to condition, and then it can be enjoyed. Now, there's nothing to stop you trying the beer or the cider after the first week. It just benefits from a little bit of cold conditioning time. If you're batch priming, one thing to be aware of, dosage rates for batch priming in a glass bottle are totally different to dosage rates in a 5 litre maturing barrel or a 5 litre mini keg, whatever you want to call it. These have been selling exceptionally well for us recently, and they're a great little fridge filler. The rate that I would prime those at is in between 2 to 3 grams per litre. So if it's a 5 litre barrel, you're not going to want to add any more than 15 grams of priming sugar to it. Otherwise, you're going to end up with issues there with it's going to be overcarbonated. So decide if you've made 25 litres of beer and you want to do a 5 litre mini keg, prime it separately before you batch prime the bottles. Look, batch priming is just adding sugar to the fermenter. There's some forums and some homebrewers I know that they add the batch priming solution to the primary fermentation, as in they wait the primary fermentation's complete, then they add the sugar solution in the bottle out of that. The only difficulty you have is that there's yeast sediment and byproducts from the active fermentation in the bottom of the fermenter, and you run the risk of that ending up in the bottle. My preference is put it into a bottling bucket, batch prime it in one go, and then bottle it bottle by bottle. You can go to the extent of individually adding a carbonation drop to each bottle and filling it just straight out of the first fermenter. It's entirely your choice. All we're wanting to do here is show you there's options with batch priming. Add sugar to a bottling bucket and bottle from that. Speeds things up rather than individually adding a level teaspoon of sugar to every 500 ml bottle of beer, for example. So that's batch priming. If you have any questions about secondary fermentation in the bottle, batch priming, or just conditioning in the bottle, don't hesitate to fire us a comment below. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, happy brewing.